Hey everyone, and welcome to SkillCapped. My name is Dr. Zora, and today we're going to be going over the best professional players that you should be watching for every agent in Valorant. While there are an abundance of experienced players in the scene right now, only a select few of them have really stuck out from the rest of the pack when playing the agents that they main. We're going to identify each of these players and review some of the tips and tricks that they use with their respective agents so that you can apply them to your own game. With that being said, let's jump right into the video. First up, we have Sova, and the player that's really stuck out to us with this agent is none other than Hiko from 100 Thieves. Sova is an agent that has a fairly simple ability kit at first glance, but when you take the time to really learn lineups for his recon bolt and shock bolts, along with a strong sense of game sense on when to use each of these abilities, he becomes an entirely different agent, and that is what 100 Thieves Hiko has accomplished. Hiko is one of the most experienced players in the scene right now, and one of the first players that really experimented with Sova's abilities at the early stages of Valorant. He has since mastered these abilities and is definitely a player to watch to learn how to play Sova to his fullest potential. To show how Hiko uses Sova's abilities, we're going to show two highlight clips from 100 Thieves versus TSM. This first clip is a post-plant situation on C site Haven. Hiko ends up in a 2 vs 1 situation with the spike planted for long. Now let's pause here and take a look at what abilities Hiko has available here. First, he has a shock bolt available to him, but in 2 vs 1 situation, that isn't going to be sufficient enough to stall the plant, especially against 2 players. However, he only needs 1 kill to grab Sova's ultimate Hunter's Fury, which combined with Shock Dart would allow him to stall and delay the plant for multiple seconds, thus giving a high chance of winning the round. You can see this is what happens in the rest of this round. Hiko knows this and he goes for the quick pick onto one of the remaining TSM members and then gets that kill that he needs. Now he still has his Shock Dart, which he fires initially to stall the plant, and once the spike has been tapped, he then activates his ultimate to further stall Wardell and guarantee the round win. Had the sequencing of plays been different, the round could have been much higher in TSM's favor, but with Hiko's expert use of Sova and making the right play at the right time, the round swung into 100 Thieves. Hiko is also a player who streams very frequently and will provide educational content on Sova during his streams that will definitely help you get into his head and learn the valuable game sense that's necessary to play Sova at a high level, which is why he is our player pick for this agent. Next up, our player recommendation for Jett is none other than Mixwell from G2 Esports. Jett is a duelist with a high level of mobility, allowing her to play very aggressively using these abilities to outplay and outposition the enemy within milliseconds. Mixwell is a player that really takes advantage of Jett's kit to play with a high level of aggression while also having quick reaction times to slip into enemy lines, grab that kill, and then safely escape before the enemy knows what hit him. To emphasize this, in this clip you can see Mixwell going for an aggressive jump peek onto the enemy team who has taken over the C site. With this jump peek, he lands the shot onto the enemy Jett and then dashes away immediately after the shot has been taken. This takes away the chances of the enemy Jett firing back at Mixwell, while also taking away the chance of any other enemies pushing onto spawn and trying to shoot him down while he's in the middle of the reload animation. This next clip really emphasizes Mixwell's ability to play aggressively with Jett. He starts things off with an initial pick onto the attackers that are pushing the B site of Ascent. Mixwell then goes for a second peek afterwards, which is risky to do now that the enemy knows his location, but he is confident in doing so because of Jett's dash, which will allow him to get away after the shot. Only by knowing that he has this escape plan does he go for the second peek, which he is successful doing and now has turned the 1 vs 3 into a 1 vs 1. Mixwell then uses Jett's ultimate and updraft to get himself high into the air, putting him in a very advantageous position to finish off the remaining player, as he knows where Sova is, but Sova has no idea how high he needs to place his crosshair to mash Jett's updraft, and Mixwell easily snags the 3rd kill. If we replay this clip, you can see just how fast this play pans out, and it requires advanced knowledge of how to fully utilize Jett's abilities to outplay your enemies and put yourself into advantageous positions to win your fights. Mixwell is a player that has proven himself to be a high level Jett player and is the reason he is our pick for this agent. Moving on, we have Reyna, and our player of choice is without a doubt Scream from Team Liquid. Reyna is an agent that highly relies on having incredible aim and an aggressive playstyle that allows her to fully utilize her abilities. Being able to push hard at your enemies and consistently heal back from each engagement is what makes Reyna a beast in the playing field. Along with that, Reyna's dismiss allows her to be incredibly slick when going for picks, where she can grab a kill and then dismiss quickly away before the enemy has a chance to fire back. Scream is our player choice for this agent, as he has the tools to play Reyna aggressively as she was meant to be. With his incredible aim, he is able to kill enemies in an instant and quickly identifies whether he wants to heal back up or if danger is present and he needs to immediately dismiss away after the first kill. The latter is the play that you'll find most professional players doing, as it allows you to get the kill that you're seeking while preventing you from getting picked off afterwards. Scream is able to quickly identify the situation at hand and appropriately select the right ability to press in a matter of milliseconds after his kills. You can see in this first clip where Scream pushes aggressively with his leers to grab the initial kills and then quickly dismisses afterwards to get to safety, giving him 2 picks for free. In this second clip, Scream gets the initial pick and then utilizes dismiss to prevent himself from getting traded, but also to get intel on where remaining players are positioned. With this, he gets information while also stalling the attack for remaining teammates to rotate. After stalling, he goes in for the second kill, then dismisses again to stall for time and identify where the last player is at. With this skillful use of abilities, he stalls the push while also giving him the information needed to make the outplay. Along with this, Scream also effectively uses Reyna's leers to work with his team to grab frags. You can see in this save round that Scream's team has 3 players stacked at Octagon, and here's the enemies pushing hookah. Once they're on site, he throws out the leer and calls for his team to push out. With the leer thrown nice and high, the enemies are forced to raise their crosshairs to try to take it out quickly, in which Scream and his team are able to peek out and kill them with inferior weapons. With Scream's aim, game sense, and reaction speed, he is able to dominate on Reyna and is our player choice for this agent. Going on to Skye, our player choice is going to be Sub Rosa from TSM. While Sub Rosa isn't necessarily a Skye main, he's recently pioneered a new style of playing this agent. Skye is an initiator and her abilities tend to play a more supportive role, where her flashes are typically meant more to help your teammates get kills rather than for herself. You have to focus on aiming guiding light, which can be difficult to do when you're on the move. However, Sub Rosa is a player that's fully mastered how to aim guiding light while also moving his agent. This allows him to take Skye's abilities to another level where he can actually flash in for himself and then peek for kills. You can see in these clips where Sub Rosa gets close to the choke point he wants to hit and then quickly guides Skye's flashes, followed by an immediate peek to push enemies back while he goes in for the kills. Along with this, Sub Rosa has also demonstrated how to adapt his flashes to surprise enemies. He starts flashing under tube here, but once that has been exploited, he adapts and fires a following flash above tube, which catches the enemy team off guard and allows him to sweep down the middle players. This ability to guide Skye's flashes quickly on the move and adapt the positioning of these flashes is what differentiates a great Skye player from an okay Skye player, and Sub Rosa has demonstrated that in his recent gameplay and is hence our pick for this agent. Next we have Cypher, and our player of choice is Pyth from G2 Esports. Playing Sentinels such as Cypher requires good knowledge of optimal setups while also knowing how to appropriately adjust those setups based on what the opponents are tending to do. To give an example, a setup that Pyth has been utilizing on the Sent attack side when going to the A site is placing a tripwire to watch the flank while also placing a camera at B links that allows him to scout out middle and cat. This setup allows his team to push through the A site, their backs are covered, and if the site is successfully taken, the camera is also there to watch for rotations through middle, giving a better idea of how defenders may be planning to play retake. When reviewing Pyth's gameplay, you'll notice that his setup is consistently changing during rounds based on where and how his team plans to attack and defend, making him very unpredictable and hard to read for enemy teams. Many players tend to use the same setup every round regardless of the plan. However, Pyth is always switching things up and being unreadable, which is the reason he's our pro player pick for this agent. Our next agent is going to be Brimstone, and the player to watch is Zombs from Sentinels. Brimstone is an agent with a fairly straightforward ability kit that's meant to smoke off and stall choke points, but the timing and speed that you're able to utilize his abilities is what really allows him to shine, and Zombs is able to do just that. To give you an example, we have Zombs trying to retake the B site from the attackers. He starts off using his ultimate to force attackers into less comfortable positions, and then follows it up with a stim beacon to support his team and give them better odds of winning the duels. From there, he throws down 2 smokes to block off hookah and octagon impressively in rapid succession, which is harder to do than meets the eye. Another example of choosing and utilizing the right abilities quickly, Zom starts out this round about to smoke heaven, but noticing that his team has already cleared it, he decides to use his ultimate onto U-Haul instead to force those players out of position while the rest of his team goes in for the push. Rather than deciding to set up smokes at this point, Zom decides to push in and support his team, as again his team was already on the site, and this was the better option to ensure that the gunfights were won. This in the moment decision making and using the appropriate abilities at the right time is why Zoms is our player to watch for when playing Brimstone. We now have our second sentinel, Killjoy, and our player pick is none other than Steel from 100 Thieves. Steel is a player with an incredibly high level of game sense, thus why he is the in-game in-game leader for his team. With Killjoy, he has a good understanding of optimal setups for attack and defense. He really shines with his agent due to his high game knowledge that allows him to accurately predict enemy plays and positions. With this information, he's able to place and use Killjoy's utility in the right spots at the right rounds and moments. Now, while most Killjoy players have good setups on defense, Steel sets the bar even higher by being able to actually save some of the utility for potential retake scenarios. In this clip here, he's retaking the A site on Haven and utilizes his ultimate in the corner that covers the majority of the site. The main flaw with this ultimate is that it does leave the back corner of long open for attackers to cam out at, but knowing this, Steel has learned a lineup that lands in this area, which has entirely cleared out the A site. The attackers now have nowhere to go, and it's an easy retake for the defenders. Steel has multiple other Killjoy setups that he uses in his games, and knowing when to use each one through predicting the enemy's next move is why we really recommend watching him to really optimize your Killjoy play. Breach is an agent that has gained more popularity since his rework, and the player we recommend watching is Shadow from Fun plus Phoenix. Breach's abilities are pretty straightforward, but again, using him well is all about timing and positioning to ensure that enemies get hit by them, and Shadow does this to near perfection. To make sure the abilities will be effective to grab kills, Shadow waits for information on enemy positions. Once that information has been gathered, he then throws a flash to blind the enemy and gets an easy kill. Knowing that players are now near a short, he then shoots an aftershock onto the A cubby, forcing another player out and getting the second elimination. Another combination that Shadow will use to force players out of position is fault line followed by a flash. Knowing that the corner of mailroom is a common position to play and that there is no escape route without being exposed, Shadow throws a fault line onto that area first and follows up with a flash, completely taking away Artis's movement and vision, leaving him up to be an easy kill for Shadow to pick up. These are just a few examples of how Shadow effectively combines Breach's abilities together and times them for the right moments, and hence he is our player of choice. Moving right along with our second controller, we have Omen, and we're going with Nitro from 100 Thieves. While Omen's ability kit allows him to go for aggressive plays, most of the time he is much more effective on a more defensive and supportive role, and Nitro is really able to emphasize this with his playstyle. To give an example of this, Nitro starts off this round with a deep smoke into B long. Pretty standard smoke to throw, but what Nitro does differently is his positioning for paranoia. He could have gone into Octagon and throw the blind over there, however this leaves more of a gap for attackers to slip through. Instead, he sets up his paranoia from elbow so that he can shoot it down B long in a straight line, which is guaranteed to hit everybody. He waits for the call from his teammates, and then when the call is made, he throws it and his two teammates can then swing to grab the easy frags while the enemy team is blinded. This small detail and change in approach allowed for a strong coordinated play that easily got them the pistol round. Nitro is a selfless player that utilizes Omen more for team play rather than individual play, and by doing so, he sets his team up in much better positions to win rounds, which is why he is our player to watch for when trying to learn this agent. Going into the deadly Raze, we are recommending to watch Zipan from Fun plus Phoenix for this agent. Raze has an incredibly powerful ability kit that when put in the right hands can deal deadly damage to enemy teams. Similarly to some of the other agents we've discussed so far, being able to quickly decide on the right ability used in the moment is what really allows Raze to shine. Raze's abilities are meant to do chip damage, but Zipan takes it a step further and supplements that with Area of Denial. Zipan starts off the defense by immediately popping Raze's ultimate onto the middle of the site to deny an early plant. While this unfortunately misses, it was still a good move as he knew a player was near that area. Afterwards, he throws out two satchels and pay attention to the position of both. Zipan throws the first satchel onto the middle of the site, but then throws the second satchel towards the right. This ensures that one of the satchels is likely to hit, but also if an enemy was hit by the first satchel, they likely move to the position where he threw the second satchel and take further damage. Zipan then pushes out slightly to grab another kill, and with his grenade recharged and knowing that someone is still on the site, he throws it out and forces the remaining player to go out of position, in which Meadow is able to clean up that kill. Smart use of Raze's abilities to not only do damage to enemies but also to force them into bad positions is what Zipan particularly specializes in and why we recommend watching him. Phoenix is our next agent and we recommend watching Drone from TSM. Phoenix is an aggressive duelist and really knowing how to deny vision with blades and hot hands along with perfect timing from his flashes is what allows for incredible plays with his agent, and Drone does exactly that. In particular, Drone does an excellent job of using Phoenix's flashes at the right time to surprise enemies. For example, a great play he tends to do is to flash out through a Phoenix wall to catch enemies off guard and allow him to grab multiple frags with his speedy aim. Taking this to another level, Drone also has learned lineups with Phoenix's Molotov and uses it to deny enemy escape routes. In this example, he throws hot hands onto the back of B halls to block off the enemy's escape, and from there he pushes aggressively, and Breach's flash forces the player to fall back, in which Drone is able to take out the Reyna while she also takes damage from the molly. Drone demonstrates incredible efficiency with Phoenix's abilities, which is why we recommend watching him play this agent. Going into our favorite support, Sage. Our player of choice for this agent is none other than Skye from Sentinels. While Sage's primary role is to assist her allies and provide a strong defense, she is capable of doing much more, and Skye has shown us just how aggressively you can play this agent. In this first clip, Skye is in a 2 vs 4 situation, and he knows that he needs to find an initial pick to open up the site. He finds this pick at ropes and immediately throws 2 slow orbs, one at ropes itself and another at defender spawn. This helps to delay rotations and allows Skye to reposition himself to a new unknown location while also giving his teammate time to plant a spike. Skye then makes his way over to screens and pushes aggressively into spawn, surprising 2 rotating players that were focused on heaven where Skye was originally at. In this second clip, Skye makes a strong aggressive play with the combination of Sage's barrier orb and slow orb. The attackers try to go for a quick push onto the A site, in which Skye puts up a barrier orb to slow them down. He realizes that the enemy is deciding to push through the barrier, where he then throws a slow orb. The timing of this slow orb is incredibly important. Had he thrown this immediately after the barrier orb, the enemies would have likely stayed back and held their push, but by throwing the orb mid-attack, the attackers are now stuck in the orb, and Skye is able to then advance and challenge the attackers for easy kills now that their mobility has been greatly impaired. It's these types of well-timed abilities and additional aggression that puts Skye above the rest of the pack and is the reason he is our player of choice for this agent. We will now move on to Viper, and while there aren't many pros currently using this agent, one player has been consistently using it in competitive play, and that is Poach from Andbox. Viper is a controller who primarily focuses on blocking off enemy vision and slowing down pushes. Her abilities can be set ahead of time and used intermittently at the cost of fuel. With limited fuel to work off of, the timing of when to use these abilities are crucial, along with having the right setup, and Poach has demonstrated both of these qualities. Viper really allows for high aggressive gameplay, which Poach successfully exploits. Here, Poach sets up Toxic Screen across the B site to distort vision from players in heaven, and then he triggers Toxic Screen along with the smoke in B garage to start off the play. His teammates then surprise the enemy team by pushing through the smoke, which overwhelms the defending Jett. Poach then does a surprise push through Toxic Screens to overwhelm the other player on B. He then secures the round by using Viper's ultimate to allow himself to safely plant the spike, deny enemy vision through spawn, and allow for a strong post-plant setup. These powerful setups that Poach is able to pull off with Viper is the reason that he is our player pick for this agent. Lastly, we have the new agent in the Valorant roster, Yoru, and the players who've really shown what this agent is made of is Ethos from Soar. Ethos is primarily a content creator but does compete in tournaments and has demonstrated how powerful Yoru can be when in the right hands. He has quickly learned how to fully utilize Yoru's abilities to play aggressively and perform outplays. The most unique aspect of Yoru is Gate Crash that allows for incredible outplay potential. In this clip, Ethos sets up a very early teleport that sneaks its way into attacker spawn without enemies knowing so. Once he gets a call that players are around B long, he uses it and the attackers are far enough away that they don't hear the teleport, so once the rotation comes by, Ethos is able to easily flank them and grab 3 quick kills. One of the ways you can effectively mask the Gate Crash's teleport is by using Yoru's flashes at the same time that you trigger the TP. Ethos is one of the first to utilize this mechanic where he sets up Gate Crash while the enemies are distracted pushing onto the site, and then throws the flash while teleporting right when it pops to get behind enemy lines to take out players from the back. Ethos is one of the players who's really pioneered Yoru's playstyle early on in this agent's release, and with his strong creativity for outplays with this agent, he is our player pick. Alright, so which pro are you currently watching? Let us know in the comment section below, and while you're down there, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to get more premium guides just like this one with one goal in mind, helping you become a better player. We here at SkillCapped want to thank you for watching. We'll catch you in the next. I'm Dr. Zora, and good luck out there.